Like we are in an environment where we're trying to find a bottom.
Trying to find a bottom? Trying to find a bottom?
In stocks?
I think the bottom was in October, right? So we're trying to find the level on the high. I mean, we're almost 20% up from that. 20% up from that.
But does that mean then that October was the high and that a new bull market is easily in the making, or is this just could it be a little bit of a fake out?
I mean, I think October, to me, if I look at the charts, it looks like the bottom. It was a long time ago. However, that doesn't mean if things fall apart, if the Fed keeps hiking, if earnings come in horribly, that we won't move lower than that, and especially if we have some tragedy or crisis economically. But October was a while back. October was a while back.
I know, but it doesn't necessarily mean, like, there's been a lot of conversations of whether or not this is still a bear market kind of in bull clothes. We saw a lot of research that was kind of dealing with that. So anyway, we will certainly ask our lineup. We've got Stephanie Pierce coming up in just a moment, the CEO of Dreyfus Mellon and ETFs at BNY Mellon Management. So we're going to talk about some of the announcements here. We also have Alicia Levine. She's head of investment strategy and equity advisory solutions at BNY Mellon Wealth Management. We're going to talk about the state of the financial industry. And then there's that little story involving golf, Matt.
Yeah, huge story involving golf. I mean, can you imagine if you'd left $1 billion on the table when Liv tried to get you over there, and then you didn't take it because you wanted to be loyal to the PGA, but the PGA took it a year later.
It's crazy, crazy. All right, I'm going to come back to you shortly. Right now, you're heading to Countdown to the Close.
Cross-platform coverage ahead of the U.S. market close starts right now.
This is the countdown to the close. About 60 minutes left to go here in the trading session. Romaine Bostic joined now by Scarlett Fu, as well as our colleague, Matt Miller. Welcome to our audiences across Bloomberg Television, Bloomberg Radio, Bloomberg Originals, and our partnership for those folks streaming on YouTube. Matt, interesting day here in the market here. Basically an S&P unchanged, basically a NASDAQ 100 unchanged, but the Russell 2000 up almost 3%.
Yeah, well, and we have been at one point up on the S&P as well, right? I think we touched 42.85 or maybe a little bit higher, and I continue to watch for 42.92 because if we get to that level, and we were so close yesterday, just a point and a half away, it would mean a technical bull market from the 35.77 low that we put in October. So it does look like the market wants to hit that mark, and I can't imagine we go without hitting it. It just we need to find a day with the right news flow to do it.
Yeah, of course, the S&P is still on that precipice, if you will, of course, of what would be the start of a technical bull market, 20% off that October low. At least for right now, it's not quite there at 42.80 and change, up about 0.2% here on the day. The Dow Jones Industrial Average going nowhere on the day, unchanged, while the NASDAQ Composite is higher, but by only by about 0.4%. But the outperformer, that's at the bottom of your screen for our television audience, the Russell 2000 at 1,854. That's up 2.64% from where it was yesterday.
Yeah, small caps outperforming is definitely an outlier there, but we're used to seeing the NASDAQ do better than the other major indexes. And here's why, perhaps. Financials are gaining. They're up by more than 1%. And of course, financials are well represented in the small cap world of the Russell 2000. There might be a bit of a rotation coming into financial stocks because we still have some of your more conventional leaders, consumer discretionary and communication services, in the leading groups, up 0.9% and up 0.7% respectively. On the downside, healthcare off by 1.2% and consumer staples, again, some of your more defensive sectors in the lagging behind. I don't want to say behind, but they're just lagging.
Bringing up the rear.
Thank you. Yes, bringing up the rear.
And also thank you for indexes, Scarlett.
All right, let's take a look at some of the individual movers here. We were just talking about bank stocks. Of course, Key Corp higher by about 4% here on the day. In fact, the KBW Bank Index as a whole up more than 5% here on the day. So having a pretty good day across the board here, both for some of the smaller banks as well as the big banks as well. DR Horton on your screen, 114.67. That's a record high. Pulte Homes today at a record high. In fact, the broader home building space is higher on the day across the board here. And some interesting sell side commentary saying that all the worst case scenarios that people thought for the housing market, at least for the home builders, I should say specifically, not necessarily going to happen. One of the few down spots on the day, that belongs to Merck. The Merck actually suing the U.S. government over the Inflation Reduction Act. It's pretty much a barn burner of a lawsuit, kind of accusing the U.S. government of extortion, or their words, when it comes to drug prices.
Right,
and of
for
course,
trying to negotiate. As if you're not allowed to negotiate for a product. I mean, Are we in China here? Isn't this a free market? Aren't you allowed to negotiate with someone who sells a product? And if they don't want to sell it to you, they don't have to.
Well, I guess the courts are going to decide that in due time. Are you a golfer, Matt Miller?
I'm a very bad golfer. I like to watch golf, and that is an amazing story.
Well, there you go. I mean, that is basically the most read story on the Bloomberg terminal, the combination between two rivals for at least the last couple of years, the PGA Tour and Saudi-backed Live Golf. That's actually putting a bid under some of the golfing stocks, including Topgolf Galloway, up about 5% here on the day. Matt, I know you're a big aficionado of the digital currencies, if you will. Gary Gensler making it clear here that digital currencies already exist, and he calls them the U.S. dollar, he calls them the euro, and he calls them whatever other fiat currency, if you will.